Okay, not waiting, let's do it. All right. Hello, everyone. Real quick, welcome to the stream. I'm Eric. Tonight we're going to be looking at photo editing, again from the same Richmond series that we edited last time, guessed yesterday. Tonight it's going to be real quick. I've only got a few minutes, so we're just going to do one photo. We're going to I've chosen a photo from this series that we're just going to edit from start to finish. And as always, I do this to open up a dialogue about post-production in photo and video editing, to kind of pull back the curtain behind a lot of things that end up behind paywalls and that end up being kind of very closely guarded editing secrets that I don't know why. It's such an essential part of the photo and video editing process, and it is strange to me that it gets so little acknowledgement, whether intentional or not. So that's what I do. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining me. If you have questions, please feel free to ask them in chat. If you have comments, share those. If you have suggestions, absolutely. If you have your own work, if you're a photographer, videographer, I guess photographer tonight, since that's what we're talking about, please feel free to share your work there as well. This is for as much as this is a platform that I have, I'd like to share it with anyone who wishes to make use of it. All right, jumping in. So back in Lightroom. This is the photo we're gonna work with. Not a whole lot to do with this one. I actually like this one a lot with the way it looks right now, but there's a few things we can touch up and kind of tweak. So here we go. Now, the thing I like about this, there's a lot of things I like about this photo. Um, let's see. For starters, I like yeah. For starters, I like the angles. I like that it is. Uh, Man, this photo is never gonna be completely straight. That's actually pretty good. We're gonna stay with that. Yeah, I like the angles. Let me adjust that a little bit more. It's always hard to figure out exactly what the best straight line is. I think I'm gonna go with the lines of these vertical posts on that side. I think that's a good idea. So yeah, because the ceiling is gonna be slanted, the floor is a little bit slanted too, and it's always hard to take a photo that's exactly straight on, especially for me because I like to tilt everything. But what I like about this photo, a couple things. Let's pull this side in a little bit, trying to get our skateboarder here right in the center. I'm gonna probably edit this sign out. We'll come back to that. Anyway, yeah. So things I like about this photo. I love the shadows. I love the kind of incomplete symmetry of it. We have our skateboarder here in the center, and I believe me, I stood there while this person skated past me, and me and my other photographer partner Amanda, we stood there basically as he skateboarded the entire length of this thing, waiting for him to just line up right in the middle, and so I could get this frame. But yes, I like the box here. I always like frames within frames. The shadows, are awesome. The triangles down here that also kind of line up and change the frame, and then him right in the center. It's all I love the composition of this photo. I think it's fantastic. Um, Black and white is also good as well. We may do a black and white version depending how fast I go through the first pass on this. Um, okay, so first thing I want to do is I do want to get this sign out of here. Uh, and one of the things that I like with this photo is I've had an idea for a way to mount or to frame and present a photo. Uh, that's not bad. We're going to adjust. Let's go to 50%. Pull this right over here. There we go. That is pretty good. Pull this a little bit that way. Try to get rid of that darkness. There we go. Ah, done. That's pretty perfect. Um, I had an idea for framing a photo where you take a larger frame and just mat it down so it almost has that effect of like looking down an infinite mirror. It almost like it's getting smaller and smaller. I've been looking for the right photo for that, and this might be the one because it seems to continue that. It draws your eyes kind of closer to the center in a very square or rectangular way, which would work well for that display. So this is kind of the photo I think I'm going to do that with. Okay. So we got some options. All right, so my usual thing, first off, let's play with clarity. Let's play with dehaze. Yeah, dehaze isn't going to do much for us this time. Clarity and texture are probably going to be the ones we lean into this time. Texture, maybe clarity. I like what clarity does. I think it does a little, it might do a little too much on this one. Let me pull, if I pull the highlights down and kind of let this be that. I think I like that. Let me do it. Let me do a select subject. Um, because this photo is interesting because this photo is both, this guy here is our centerpiece, so we want them to be the focus. All right, we got a couple spots that don't belong there, but everything else is good. All right, so we're gonna do a, nope, do this. We're going to invert because I want to work on everything else. I'm gonna do an add brush just to make sure that everything up here is actually part of that. There we go. Cool. Zoom in, make sure we're not getting anything we don't want to be. Let me see the overlay on color. All right, cool. It's gonna be a subtract brush. Make sure we're not getting our friend here. But yeah, this is interesting because you want to, like, you don't. This isn't like some of the typical photos I've been doing lately with people where you want to kind of remove, where you want the background to kind of, you know, you want it to create contrast with the subject so that so that they are distinct from each other. But in this case, the the background is as important. There we go. Cool. The background is as important as the subject. So yeah, we're gonna bring up that clarity there, and not so much on him. Um, so you want that distinction without it being too. Uh, you want them to feel definitely like they're separate and distinct components without one feeling like it overshadows the other. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I like pulling the highlights down. I think pulling the highlights down kind of brings out the. I don't know though. Nah, you end up focusing too much on the ground. I think let's pull that down and kind of let us focus on the textures. Pulling the shadows up, this ends up looking very different. Actually, I don't hate it. Looking at the thumbnail, I really don't. I kind of like that. Let's see what our see what kind of noise we're getting in there. Honestly, not as much as I was expecting. That's pretty good. Man, shooting raw is a great idea. Okay, so now we're going to do a new mask. We're going to select subject because I do want to do a little bit of work on this guy. There we go. I do not know why it is picking up this little bit up here. I have no idea why it thinks that's part of the subject. But there we go. Let's zoom in here, make sure I'm getting everything and not things I don't want. I don't want this area here. I just want the person. Just want our friend here. There we go. Cool. That works. So now we're going to bring the highlights up on them. Actually, the highlights are fine. It's the shadows I want to bring up on them. Maybe even the blacks. Actually, maybe even just exposure a little bit. Bit much. Clarity, maybe. Texture probably is probably the way to go on this one. Get that texture on them. Yeah, give them a little more. If I dehaze them, they get a little darker. The shadows get a little darker. Let's leave that as is. Let's take a look. Let's zoom in here. All right, those are a little soft. Put the blacks back. There we go. That'll solve the problem. Cool. Let's go back to our first mask. Bring the exposure down just a notch or two. Not enough to really, not enough to detract from that, but enough to make this person stand out. Go back here. If I bring up the whites on them a little bit. Again, we're able to see the background and pay attention to it without losing our person here. Cool. So done with that. Let's move down to some color adjustments. See what kind of colors we're playing with. We got some blues in there. I like them. Debating what I want to do with those. We could bring them down and kind of get rid of that stuff. We could bring it all the way up and really brighten those up. Give us a little more texture to the world. I like that. Let's see, reds. Reds are mostly just the backpack and a little bit of stuff. Let's bring that up. I feel like I'm slurring my words. So yeah, we'll bring the reds up. Reds look good. So it's orange or yellow is going to be the one that affects it the most. I think it's going to be orange on this one. Orange is going to be, yeah, everything's orange. Okay, cool. So we're going to leave the orange slider alone. Yep, wrong one. Yellow slider. That's what I want to play with. Honestly, I think I just want to shift the color of that one more than anything else. Let's bring the color down a little bit. Gonna come up here to the yellow slider. We can shift it that way, or we can shift it toward green. I think shifting toward green is the better idea. Then again, Does make our skateboarder stand out. Let's go with that. Let's go with something a little more like that. Whatever is coming up as green, we're also going to shift toward yellow. Actually, might not be too bad that way. The only thing I don't like about this is the color of the branches and the color of the foliage there. I'm debating whether to lean into that or not. Because you could push the greens. I don't hate it, honestly. I'll be totally honest. I don't dislike that, especially if I push up the green saturation. Just gotta have it kind of find that spot where it looks green and doesn't end up looking teal. Like that's not too bad. Gotta put the yellows back a little bit. Push our aquas over toward green. Not that there's much to affect, but if there is, we want to make sure that they get that. There we go. I'll find that right level of green. All right. That's not looking too bad. Debating what I want to do with the oranges here. I do kind of like the darkness on them. Reds we can brighten and darken. Let's brighten those up. Purples don't really have much going on, and yeah, same with magentas. Let's see, reds we could push to yellow or to purple, or to magenta, no real point. Orange we could do a lot with. Orange is our big controlling color here. I think I'm gonna lean a little bit this way. Though that's actually better, more easily doable from a mask. So let's go back to our mask here. Adjust our color a bit like that and push the greens a little bit. You can get totally purple on it. That's a thing. All right. I'll push it to blue. What do we end up with? You know what? That actually looks kind of dope. I don't know. I'm on the fence about leaning into the golds there. Done. Let's come back down. I'm gonna put that back. Put this back. Yeah, I do like that kind of not quite red. We're gonna push the reds. We're gonna leave the reds over there. Not quite red, but that kind of burnt, rusty color. I think that's striking. I like that. That's kind of what attracts me to doing a color version of this image. I'm gonna pull the blues back up. I'll let the blues be a bit more of a thing, just so we get a little more color in there. All right, it's gonna do a quick check on if I take this guy and push his color scheme toward blue. Again, working with some complementary colors makes him stand out a little more, and I like that. We get some blue shadows on him. That works. That looks pretty good. I'll bring the texture up on. Nope, not on that. Just the texture up on. Yeah, that's a shot. Texture is up on our friend here. We've already done that. Okay, cool. All right, so that looks pretty good as a first pass on this one. But now we're gonna do in the next like 3 minutes. We're gonna do a create a virtual copy. We're gonna set both of these. Yeah, come on, unstack them. There we go. Set the rating on both of them to 1. And now this guy, we're gonna go black and white on. And now we're gonna do some more. Now our adjustments are gonna be different. Our highlights are gonna be up, and we're gonna bring our clarity all the way up. Let's see. Let me quickly go back to color just for a second because I want to reset all these. Come on, there you go. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. Okay, so that's all been reset. We will adjust that in black and white. We're gonna go to our color profiles here for black and white. All right, I like 3. I like 5 a little better. Yeah, I like 5 a little bit better. I'm not sure if I like 6 or 5 better. I think I like 5 better than 6. 7's pretty good. 7 would need to be darkened, so I think I'll stick with 5. Ooh, 8. 8's better. 8's the best so far. That feels dull. That feels overdone. Feels duller. 12's not doing much for me. blue filter's not bad. I think blue filter's better in this case. It makes our skateboarding friend stand out. It's yellow, that's blue. Let's click on that one for a second. Let's compare that to 8. I think blue's the way to go. Okay. Now we can increase the effect of this, or we can bring it down. I think I'm gonna leave it right where it is. Let's go with that. Cool. So that's a good start. So now, let's go to our masks. Our masks are obviously still here. With this mask, we're gonna keep those highlights up. Now we're gonna keep the shadows up as well. Push the clarity all the way. I want this to have that kind of feeling. But I'm also gonna bring down the blacks. I'm probably gonna end up doing another mask on this one just to make sure just to play with some color down there. Can also adjust the color on this. Now that we're not in black and white, we push it toward blue, push it toward purple a little bit. We get a little more of a standout with the texture and the color. And I'm good with that. So contrast up, contrast a bit much, a little bit maybe. Put the exposure back, and then we can adjust. Now the contrast can go up. Blacks can go down a little more if we wanted to. Still don't want to dehaze. Dehaze is a little bit of a, you know what? There's something kind of cool about that because it does give us that kind of this photo almost being directly cut in half on a diagonal. I may recrop this one just specifically for that purpose. If I wanted to do that and just lean right into that line and just crop it like this. I actually think it's better the way it was. You still have it, but it's not quite as exact, and I'm fine with that. All right, let's look at our friend here. See if there's anything to do with them. You do want to make sure they still pop out from the background. It's one of the downsides uh, with making the background as strong and as clear as it is with clarity, is you do sort of end up with the slight problem of having to, they end up kind of blending in. So we're going to work on that. Done. All right, we're going to do a new mask. Amazing, still don't have a polygon tool in here. That'd be something I would want. All right, let's come in 50%, kind of get, and what we're going to do is we're going to get this whole area here. Kind of everything around our skateboardy friend. Just kind of the square at the end of the thing. Just going to get this area here. Come up. Down, get this area here. Over and up. Kind of all of our triangles. A little too much. Don't want to go too far. It's a little better to be not quite perfect than to overlap too much, I think. It's my first instinct at least. So we get all this. All this, let me get in a little closer to the next to our friend here. Like that, and like that. There we go. Good. And with this, we're going to bring the texture down. Actually, I don't want to bring the texture down. I want to bring the blacks down. That's going to give us a little more of a little more definition on the background there without hopefully without losing it. Pull the clarity back a little bit. You might have to actually do some substantial work on that. All right, we're gonna leave that where it is. I can adjust the color on this to darken it down and really brighten it up. I think I'm gonna lean towards something new. I'm gonna try brightening it up. Not all the way, kind of like that. And then I'm gonna go to our man here, and we're gonna switch it, and we're gonna do everything that darkens. Down, shadows down. Whites down. Yeah, let's leave those where they are. Bring our shadows down. We're gonna turn this guy into a silhouette more or less. Texture brighten, so we'll leave texture alone. Clarity, same kind of thing. Makes it harsher, but I think dehaze will do a better job with that. Dehaze is doing bugger all, okay. Bring exposure down. There we go. It's getting better. Almost turns them into a silhouette at the end there. I like that. We can do some more work with this spot here. As we brighten it up, maybe that's too much. Yeah, that's coming along. We're starting to get somewhere. Let's play with some color down here. A little bit of color. That's where most of our reds are. That's good. We can brighten those up. Oranges are still going to be just that spot. That is interesting. Yellows, same kind of deal. Okay, if we brighten up the yellows and brighten up the greens, that's helping get our, bring the greens down. Now let's bring the greens up. Oranges, yeah, same deal, but a little too much. Not where that is. Blues, ooh, it's a lot more blue than I thought there was. Let's bring that up. I guess there's a lot more blue because we've been shifting everything to blue. And there's a little bit of purple. Ooh, purple's on our dude here. We're gonna bring the purple down. Make him stand out more. That's pretty sweet. Gives him a bit more of gives him a bit more of an obscure appearance, but I like that. It makes him stand out. Cool. All right. Next thing to do, I'm gonna come back up to the top here. I'm gonna bring the highlights down a bit, just overall. Actually, let me bring the whites down. I think the whites are more my problem. Maybe not. Texture? No, texture. I want to keep where it is. That's all right. So we're gonna bring the whites down. Less than that. Bring the highlights down a little bit because I'm getting these pops of light over here that I don't wholly love. But that looks pretty cool. Especially looking up at the thumbnail up in the corner here. I think that's a good contrast. So we got this version where we're using the color to make them stand out. And then we have this version where we're using black and white and just the specific contrast to make them stand out. I'm gonna bring the whites back up. I like having I like really having the detail in the ground here. One other thing. Let's take a look at this mask we did here. Yeah, let's pull up the texture for black and white. I want to do that. I want to pull up the texture on the black and white. I do also want to see if I can bring the highlights down a little bit. I don't overexpose that texture. Yeah, I want to have the texture so that we have that, so we really do lean into the composition of it, and we lean into these wires and conduit running across the top. We lean into the vertical lines and the triangles and stuff. But I also don't want to, overexpose and lose the texture. So I want to kind of find that middle ground where you still have the brightness, but you also have, losing the texture. We're just gonna bring it down just a tiny bit. Cool. Dehazing, still not what I want to do. There we go. That's a very different image. Kind of a cool image though. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna do a second virtual copy of this one. Because I want to do one where I dehaze everything. Like that. And kind of do a weird negative look, because that looks really cool. Can now bring the highlights down that much. Of course, this shot's going to be full of noise, but almost in a good way, because this shot looks manipulated like hell. Texture stays the same. Clarity. Yeah, we don't lose the clarity. The clarity is what makes this thing stand out in the weird way that it does. Contrast, yes. Blacks down. Not so much. Let them be down a little bit. Kind of be as they are. And the whites, bring the shadows down a little bit. I don't know though. I like the shadows on the ground. We'll do it like that. We'll bring the blacks down a little bit. That's interesting. So we got three different versions. We got the color version. Like I said, using color contrast to make things stand out. It might be a little bit bright. Let's bring the shadows down on our friend up there. Not the shadows, the whites. Just kind of back to what they should be. There we go. So we got that one, which I think also needs, what did I do? I cranked the luminance and the blues. Put it down a little bit. Don't overexpose him. He stands out quite nicely. So we got that. Then we got the black and white version where we kind of lean into harder contrast and sharper angles. The shot needs to be darker just in general. Goes down, bring the blacks down. Think about bring the exposure down a bit. Just a bit, not that much. That, bring the shadows up. Cool. So you kind of lean into texture and lean into it, and then you got this one where we really lean in and let this guy be a silhouette walking through a very, very perplexing, super white world, which is still cool. So yeah, 25 minutes. We edited the same photo 3 times. Come back to me. Yeah, edited the same photo 3 different ways to kind of highlight 3 different things and talked about some of the. We used some masks. We talked about the kind of the benefits one way or the other um, of using color contrast and lighting contrast and so on and so forth. So yeah, that was a fun photo to edit. It was one I was looking forward to, and it's a good way for me to wrap up my night as it is now 6 in the morning and the sky is starting to get blue. So thank you for joining me as always. Appreciate you being part of this, and yeah, I will. I think the next stream I'm going to be doing is probably going to be video editing. I'm not sure. I've got the rest of this series to edit, but I also have I'm spending a lot of time working on a new film project that I'm editing. So we may be doing that. We'll see where my mind takes me, and see if we end up doing both. There's a very good chance we might be. So with that said, thank you very much. Let me find my. There we go. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Make good art. Create something cool. And yeah, then post about it. Tell people about it. We all do. I feel like all our lives would be vastly improved if all of us just enthusiastically shared the cool stuff we do. Because there's a lot of it, and I mean, I know I'm guilty of this, where the things that I love the most are the things that I never tell anybody about, and I feel like you never know. You could make a difference with some of those things. So make art, share art, never stop telling stories, and yeah, get some sleep. Have a good night.